Hello, Clan fans. We are back after over a year of Droughtlander, which, wow, that was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but we got through it, right? I cannot believe Outlander is back and back for the second half of Season 7. And we opened up with Episode 9 called Unfinished Business. And it was a lot. I have to admit there was a lot more that happened than I was expecting. So yeah, let's get into that. Also, I'm sure you've noticed there is a change of scene here. Still a work in progress, I admit, but I officially have a sewing room, which I am also using as a filming room, and I'm trying to get it all figured out here, but I actually have a little Outlander project here to show off. And yeah, I've been pretty much busy since moving, and it's been a year, I can tell you that. But yeah, so hopefully once I get this room figured out, it'll look much better. And yeah, I'm excited that I have a filming room officially. So in episode 9, we see Claire, Jamie, and Ian return to Lallybroch, which is long overdue, may I say. And basically, everything has changed. So Ian is able to reunite with his mother, but I'm going to point this out. We do not have the original Jenny in the cast anymore. Laura Donnelly did not return for season 7. Instead, we have, I believe her name is Kristen Atherton, who is a newcomer to the show. I will say that she acted the heck out of this role. I do appreciate that. She brought a lot to Jenny, as far as I've seen so far. But I feel like she didn't entirely capture the mannerisms of Laura Donnelly. A little bit, but not as much as I was expecting, I guess. So you know how Laura Donnelly had like this very fiery, headstrong version of Jenny? We did see some of that in episode 9. I personally feel like we didn't see enough of that. And I could say it's because Jenny's going through a lot in this episode, because we do learn that Ian Sr. is ill and he's dying. So that could explain why she's not herself. But yeah, that was just my personal take on it. I still appreciate the actress for stepping in and acting the heck out of the role. She did great with that. I just hope that in the future episodes it starts to match up with original Jenny a little more. Just a little more. Now, one of the themes of this episode is unfinished business, which in the title. And what happens is Jamie comes to realize after attending Simon Fraser's funeral that he himself has unfinished business and he does not want to go without like clearing up everything, tying loose ends. So his unfinished business, interestingly, is going to visit Laogherie. Y'all remember her, right? Now, I love seeing Nell Hudson back. She is great in the role. Laogherie just is one of those characters that, yeah. I'm sure you all know what I mean. But I will say, I appreciate them bringing her back because it is in the book, first of all. So that was important to keep in there because it is an important part of, I believe, book 7. And what happens is Jamie goes to visit her, and obviously she's not too happy to see him because of the way he left things. And he does actually attempt to apologize. But the problem is he doesn't entirely know what he's apologizing for, I guess you could say. Because he does know that he hurt her in some ways, but she even takes it all the way back to when he took the punishment for her and kissed her, and she even points out, like, you were in love with Claire at that point, so what was the point of, like, kissing me? And like, he comes to realize that there's just no reasoning with her, and there's a fight that breaks out between him and the farmhand after she gets mad at Jamie, and then he realizes that she is in love with the farmhand. So he basically didn't tie up any loose ends at this point. But, like, Clara does say, like, at least you attempted, like, that's important too. Now, how does this all get resolved, you ask? So, interestingly, somebody comes knocking at the door at Lallybroch, and it is not Roger. It is Joan herself, who is Laogherie's youngest daughter, and she is trying to explain to Jamie that she wants to join a nunnery. She does not want to get married. However, her mother does not want that for her daughter, and she will not release her dowry because Laogherie is doing everything in her power to keep the property that she owns, because she's only owning it through the money that she's getting through Jamie. And if she loses that money, then she loses the property. So Jamie realizes, like, this is the way I can make things right between me and Laogherie. So he has a contract written up. Interestingly, Ned Gowan is still alive. We don't see him, but he mentions him. And I honestly would have loved to have seen Ned in 100 years old. But yes, good to know he's still alive and well. So yes, he wrote up a contract for Jamie, and basically it states that Laogherie will get to keep the property so long as she drops the matrimony situation and she allows Joan to join the nunnery. And even though Laogherie's not entirely happy about it at first, she does come to realize that this allows her to marry her farmhand beau, and she does agree to it. So that is how the loose ends are resolved. Some other unfinished business that occurs in this episode is Claire admits to Jamie that she wants to tell his family that she is a time traveler, which is a really big step because you never know how anybody is going to react in the 18th century to that kind of news. But she realizes that they are very important to her and she wants them to know the truth. She doesn't want to hide it from them anymore. So they sit down at the table and she tells Ian Sr., Jenny, and their oldest son, Jamie. The reason why she wants Jamie to know is because she knows that something terrible is going to happen in France, basically the revolution where the Queen and King get beheaded, and she wants Jamie to know that just in case he happens to be there during that time. So she gives him a warning, and then they come to ask her, like, how do you know this? And she tells them that she is from the year 1918 and beyond, and it is some big news for them to take in. They are a little shocked, obviously, but one issue that Jenny has with it is that knowing that Claire is from the future, she asks her, like, is there any way you can cure Ian of his illness? And Claire does explain to her that even though there are medicines from her time, there's no way she can reproduce them, and even at this point, if she could, Ian Sr. is just way too ill at this point. Like, he's just dying at this point. So Jenny does not take this well. She gets mad at Claire, storms off, and I felt really bad for Claire in this situation too, because she wants to help. She always wants to help as a doctor. She always wants to cure people. She wants the best for everybody. But knowing that she can't do anything for Ian and seeing Jenny react this way, like that, you can tell that it breaks her heart. And then Jenny goes to have a scream in the woods, we'll say. And Jamie happens to overhear her, and he goes to comfort her in, like, one of the sweetest ways. I loved seeing this moment between them. We don't get too many brother-sister moments in this show, and it was just a beautiful moment where he reminds her, like, through our grief throughout our lives, like, you just jumped in, you pitched in, you did what you had to do, you are stronger than you know. And that was just a beautiful moment. Even though this isn't really stated as unfinished business, it is technically with Ian. So he does tell Ian Sr. that he is in love with Rachel, and he explains to him that it's complicated because even though he told her that he loves her, she didn't exactly return the sentiment quite yet. And Ian Sr. believes that Ian should make a choice. Like, you should, like, tell her, like, wait for me while I'm in Scotland. But Ian decides that he wants to write a letter to Rachel telling her to move on and don't wait for him, because he feels like his duty is to stay in Scotland with his father while he's in his dying years or days. So Jenny happens to walk in right as he's sealing the letter for Rachel, and I love this part. I had a feeling, okay, I thought she was going to throw it in the fire, but I still appreciated what she did. She takes the letter, tears it up, and she's like, come with me. So what she does is she takes him to the graveyard that they have on property, and she shows him a gravestone that they had made for Ian's daughter, who he had with Emily. And it's, this is one of the scenes that started to get me teary-eyed. So she said, like, she wanted to make a grave for her because that way Ian would have a place to come visit her, since there really was no grave ever made for her. And, like, she even had the Native American writing put on it, and it was beautiful. And she tells Ian, like, your father would want you to live your life. So go to Rachel, tell her that you love her. And it's just such a beautiful moment between mother and son. Seriously, it got to me. Claire receives a letter from Lord John, and basically it states that his nephew is dying because he got shot in battle, and the only way that this man has any chance of surviving is if Claire can go to him and perform surgery to get the bullets out of him. So Claire is caught between a rock and hard place because she wants to stay to help Ian even though he's dying and there's no curing him. But there's this chance that she can go save Lord John's nephew, but she doesn't want to leave her family in this trying time. But Jenny happens to overhear everything, and she tells her, like, if you can't cure Ian, but you can cure this man, then that is who you should go to. So Jenny gives her blessing, and Claire heads out to America the next day, and joining her is young Ian. And in one of the most touching moments, so we assume that Ian Sr. is too weak to go say goodbye to them. But the second I heard the peg leg walking out into the courtyard, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start crying again. He goes out to say goodbye to them. He gives each of them a hug, and then he walks out to see them off, and young Ian's watching his father, like, in the distance as he rides off, and it's like, I'm extra emotional this season. The thing is, I lost my grandfather earlier this year, so I think just knowing that Ian Sr. is dying, and this is the last time that young Ian's seen him, most likely, that's really getting to me. But I do think that they handled the story very well in this episode. I love that they tied a lot of loose ends together, and it definitely will make the rest of the season amazing. Now let's get to Roger's story. So Roger and Buck time traveled back in time to go save Jemmy, who was kidnapped by Rob. And what happens is Buck and Roger arrive. They arrive. That's all I'm going to say. So they decide to split up to cover more ground. And Roger goes to Lallybroch because he is almost sure that he's going to find Claire and Jamie there because of the letters. And what happens is, I loved this scene, by the way. So this was while Claire was telling the family about being a time traveler. There is a knock at the door, and Jamie goes to answer it. And this is right at the same time that Roger knocks on the door of Lallybroch. And what happens is, the door opens, and this is where Jamie finds that it's Joan, and Roger finds that it is none other than Brian Fraser, aka Jamie's father. Now, this is when Roger realizes, wait, what time am I in? And he also meets young Jenny, so he's starting to come to the conclusion that they're at least in the late 1730s, early 1740s, and that means Jamie is off in France, and that means that Roger is in the wrong time. But he also wonders, wait, am I in the wrong time, or is Jemmy also in this time? It's hard to know. So what happens is Brian is very gracious and lets Roger stay there. He goes to take him to a man who happened to see what they call a ferryman, because he was dressed in odd clothing, which would indicate most likely 20th century clothing. And he tells him that he saw him, but he didn't see a young child, so he can't help him with that. But right in that moment, Jenny comes riding up, and she tells him that Buck was found and he's very ill. So Roger goes to Buck, and he takes him to, I'm pretty sure it was Inverness. I was crying at that moment, so I was watching through teary eyes. And this was like the worst possible moment to have teary eyes, because he goes knocking on a door for a healer, and lo and behold, who opens the door but, dun dun dun, Galis Duncan. So yeah, that was a shock. I don't know if she was Duncan at that point. She might not have been. You know, it's hard to keep track of all these aliases. But yes, Galis is in the story again, which we knew because we knew she was coming back. Lottie, I'm sorry, is it Lottie Vanderbeek? I'm so bad with names sometimes, guys, I'm sorry. But yes, Lottie is back, and we are happy to have her back because she does a great job playing Galis. And the only way she can return is, of course, if they go to the past. But yes, I'm excited to see where her story goes. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of tension there because Roger knows of her past / future. You know what I mean. Episode 9 was amazing. It was very well done. They fit in so much in the story, and it was a great premiere. And I'm very excited to see where the rest of season 7 is going. I get the feeling I'm going to need a lot more tissues, because I will say this is the first time the first episode of any part of Outlander has made me cry. Now I'm very nervous because I know there's going to be very sad parts coming up in this season, and they did say it's going to be a rough season. Yeah, we're most likely going to see the death of Ian Sr. Not to spoil it, but I think it's very much implied at this point. And it's in the books as well. So yeah, that's going to be hard. And then Jamie and Claire being apart is going to be very difficult because he has stayed behind in Scotland to look after Ian and be with him in his final moments. And to, of course, be there for Jenny. Yeah, there's a big plot point coming up that I'm not looking forward to, because you just know that Kat is going to bring the emotions. And yeah, it's going to be tough, in short. But yes, I am very much looking forward to the season, and Ian's going to return to Rachel, and their feelings will be confirmed. I just know it. And of course, we got to see Rollo again. I love Rollo. Also wanted to clarify again that Kristen, she's doing great as Jenny. I do not have a problem with her stepping into the role. I just got so used to Laura Donnelly's take on it. And like, they each have a very unique take, which I do appreciate when a new actor like brings something new to the role. That is appreciated. I just got very used to Laura's fiery nature, which Kristen did bring some of that, and I'm sure we'll see more of it. It's just also a tough time for Jenny, so I'm sure that is also why we are not seeing like the same Jenny that we saw back in season 3, or 1 through 3, I should say. But yeah, I'm just glad to have Jenny back and to have them have more scenes together, because she was originally supposed to be in season 4 meeting Brianna, and hopefully she will get to meet Brianna either by the end of the season or next season. But yes, I am happy to have Jenny back. I'm glad you all could join me, and hopefully I will get everything figured out with the setup, and obviously the lighting needs some work. But yes, it's all a work in progress, and yeah, I am excited to be back. Videos might be a little later at times because my schedule is very, very wonky right now. But hopefully I'll get those videos out to everybody as soon as I can. But thank you for joining me. I hope you all enjoyed episode 9 and the recap. And I will see you for episode 10.